Thank you so much for being on. It's our second panel of the year, and hopefully this one just beats out the last one. Today is surviving the market. We're going to be talking about what these panelists did to get through, how they persevered, how they stayed relevant, and kind of the trials and tribulations that they went through. So today's panelists, we have John Schuster from Coldwell Banker. We have Kath Hammersing from Edina Realty, and we have Shannon Plord from Keller Williams. And I'm going to pass it off to Jill, who's going to be moderating. And again, questions, please put in the chat and we will get them answered as they come in.
Perfect. All right, let's start with just a quick intro from everybody, your 1-minute elevator speech as to who you are, how long you've been in the industry, and maybe a quick overview because each of you has a team. So maybe talking just a quick overview of what your team structure looks like, how that works. We will start with Kath. Oh, you're muted.
There it is.
There we go.
I'm Kath Hammersing. I just had my 25th birthday in the real estate business. Started in 1996, so I rode the wave up during that time. So like many of you, started in a time of a really robust market and then experienced 2008 through 12 as well. I have a small team. It's myself and my son, Dan Nelson, who most of you know because he's kicking my butt. And he and I run actually parallel businesses, but we co-brand and we meet weekly to make sure that our business is consistent. We also have a transaction manager and a concierge, really does showings and just customer care. So we have 2 additional people that support us in that. Been in leadership at MAR for a long time, and currently I'm very involved in the advocacy arm. So I'm an FPC for Dean Phillips. That's a federal political coordinator. I'm the major investor liaison for the state of Minnesota from the National Association for RPAC. So I'm very involved in RPAC. I'm also very much involved in the movement for equity. So I'm one of the founding members of the Just Deeds Coalition and deeply involved there.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, John, you're up.
All right, John Schuster, Coldwell Banker. Been in the business since 2004. What is that, going on 17 years? You young realtors in here, it goes by really fast, sometimes really slow, but 14 agents. We got listing partners, buyers agents, admin, kind of everything in between. Started, gosh, kind of in a market like this. It was hot, multiple offers. Market crashed. Market slowly rebounded. Worked with some investor hedge funds when they were coming in Invitation Homes to buy properties. And 2013, that was a fun year. And ever since then, traditional business as it's come back to where it is today. So I think that's what we're here to talk about today.
Very cool. Very cool. And Shannon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon Plord. I have been in the business for 29 years, since 1992. And I also have a small team. So it's me and my wife, Jennifer Plord. And then her daughter, my stepdaughter, recently joined us as a buyer's agent. And then we have a director of operations who keeps us all on the tracks.
In the lines.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So today, as everybody knows, kind of going into this, it's all about their experiences, obviously 92, 96, 2004. So they had time to establish a business. Then they went through the wave of everything. So that's really going to be the focus of what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to try and get through a bunch of questions, get you a lot of info. So stuff's going to go fast. Good news, it's recorded. Go back and get your notes after the fact because we're not slowing down for anything. Okay, let's go. So we will start with lead generation strategies, funnel strategies. Where do you guys get your business? And we'll just start with Shannon. Go back the other way.
So, still a majority of my business comes from my past clients and sphere. I focus heavily on just constantly staying in touch with people and nurturing those relationships. So that's a big part of it. But then too, to grow my business, I still do open houses. I haven't really actually since the beginning of the pandemic, but in 2019, I think we generated about 15 to 20% of our business from open houses with buyers and sellers. And then another thing that we do still, I have a farm. I have a couple farms. One since I started in 1992, which I was 22, which will tell you my age if you're good at math. And, you know, the thing about that was people my age weren't buying houses, and it was a struggle to get business. I remember I was trying to figure out how to look older, and I was thinking I should get some glasses, and now I have them, not by choice. And so I started a farm, and I still farm that. So I regularly still send out print ads. And I know that some people have gotten away from that, but I think that still is effective for us. It's kind of a layering effect for marketing. And, you know, the people who aren't on social media are getting our print ads. And if they are on social media, they're getting both.
So for those who aren't as familiar with the Keller Williams model thing, you do the 33 touch. So do you want to do a quick breeze over of what that means and then how your print falls into that?
Yeah, well, and I'll say too, so when I started, I was with Coldwell Banker for 12 years. So I started that farm right away. I was heavily pushed to do that. And so the 33 touch is really about getting in touch with and touching your people at least 33 times a year. So that's a mixture of print ads. So if I'm sending one a month, that's 12. If they're getting our newsletter and we have them on our email, we send out our newsletter via email. If they follow us, you know, on Instagram, Facebook, they'll see us that way. But I'm also making calls. Like I'm going through my database and I'm making calls. And just checking in with people.
Touch the database via phone call.
That's part of it. Yeah.
How frequently though would you talk to John if he was in your database?
Well, the goal is at least 4 times a year calling. But you know, a lot of that too is like who answers their phone anymore, right? And so if they're not answering their phone, I'll follow it up with a text. Just say, hey, checking in, how you doing? What's new? I saw your neighbor's house just sold. Can you believe it?
Love that. Have a reason also to reach out.
There's always a reason.
Always a reason. It's a crazy market if you haven't heard. Always a reason.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, let's go to you. Where are you guys getting the majority of your business right now? And how are you lead generating?
Yeah, I mean, we try to have kind of multiple funnels going at all times, but we do a lot of radio advertising. We do some postcard campaigns, pay-per-click, Facebook. We utilize the ISA model. So we have 2 agents on our team. Their sole job is to answer the phone 5 minutes or less, business hours, 15 minutes or less, nights and weekends. And, you know, I mean, we're going to talk about this. It's not like getting the lead, but it's what do you do once you get the lead? Because we all can get leads here, but do you just call that lead once or do you put it into some CRM? And so we're big on follow-up. All the money is made in this business and follow-up. But coming back to your original question, yeah, it's in addition to direct advertising, trying to get the phone to ring, Shannon, as you said, it's just nurturing those past clients. I mean, the money is in your database. And the one mistake I made is my first 7 years in this business, I didn't have a CRM. You know, I was very transactional. I would do a deal and go find the next one and go do it. And think of the hundreds of thousands, probably $1 million probably lost by the first 7 years in this business, not putting leads into a database, just having pieces of paper with leads. So if you get one thing off this webinar, don't do what I did.
I love that. All right, Kath, how are you lead generating? Where is your business coming from?
Well, my business again is like everybody here. Majority is past client and referral business. Consistent touches. You know, whatever it is you do, whether it's the mail or social media, or for me, I do a lot of events. It's an easy way to touch a large amount of people in a short time. And interestingly, the way events work for us is whether you're talking to the person or whether they're across the room, they are seeing you and they are getting to know you and what you're about and who you are. So an event is a great way to connect with people over a short period of time. So I'm big on events. Relationship is where it's at. You know, people need to know you care for them and that you're genuine. So that's important. Accept every invitation. That's one of my, I see what kind of events. I do a summer pool party. I have a pool now, so I do a cookout and invite people to my home. I do a pumpkin giveaway at Halloween time. I do a women's night every November, and we actually even did it during COVID. We had people do a drive-by and pick up a bag that had a bottle of wine and a bunch of goodies from the different vendors that we normally would have at our women's night. And then we did an on-screen gathering that was really touching and moving and really got deep. The conversation got pretty deep. So, you know, whatever events you do them consistently so people look forward to them and anticipate. Accept every invitation and show up. That is just my philosophy, right? If someone thinks enough to invite me, I am going to show up for them. Because you're not just showing up for them, you're also meeting their group of people. And again, an opportunity for them to check you out and, oh yeah, this is my realtor, you know, and you build a little rapport and you build a little relationship. And if you click with them, then when the time comes for them, sometimes that happens. I was a volunteer firefighter in New Hope and Crystal for 20 years. And so that was my farm area. I was visible there, whether it was talking in the schools or, you know, volunteering in the community that you also want to be visible in is an important thing. But, you know, I have a bus bench there tonight. I'm actually running the music and being the MC for their bike rodeo. So I volunteer, but I am visible to them. So you don't have to spend a ton of money to be visible. You need to step up when people need something.
And even if it's an in-home party, this is my theory on it, you're getting access to their sphere, which is invaluable. And you might just get your Christmas shopping done a little early. So you end up buying a couple things throughout the year, and then you got a stockpile of gifts at the end of the year.
There it is.
Simple. Checks all the boxes. All right. So without giving away your secret sauce, because obviously all three of you have done an incredible amount of business and have been able to withstand some pretty crazy markets, what do you feel that you do differently that sets you apart? And John, this one I'm going to start with you because you had mentioned your team mindset, and I'd love for you to delve into that a little more.
Yeah, you know, the first couple of years I did this business, I did it all by myself, worked 80, 90-hour weeks and got burned out. I mean, I had a lot of success, but I wasn't enjoying life as much because real estate was my life. And I found through the team model that, you know, you give up a little bit because you're sharing that lead, you're sharing part of that commission, but as you grow, everybody grows and everyone can have a little bigger life by doing that. And you can also then step away from your business because you have people to cover your business. It's very difficult now if you're dealing with 5 or 6 buyers, you got 5 or 6 listings and you have calls coming in and voicemails to return. It's just hard to do it all. And so through the team mindset at our team, you know, we have people that handle specific tasks, but we also have a system that people can step away and they can leave for a weekend with their family or a week on vacation, and they can know that their business is fully covered. And that's what's really made our team culture work, and just the support of everybody around. And in this business, especially in this market, sometimes I always tell people, never bitch about real estate to family or friends, but to other realtors, people that you trust, you can share the struggles that we go through, because this business will sometimes drive you absolutely batty. And that's the other benefit of our team, is that we're there to support each other. And sometimes you just need a 10-minute call after a crazy listing appointment or some neurotic buyers just to vent. And that's what we get out of our team.
That's huge, because absolutely, when stuff goes awry, you need somebody to vent to. But if you say it to your family, then they feel like you don't want any more business.
Mm-hmm.
True. Steer clear of them. I love that. Shannon, what about you? What would you say is your, without giving away the secret sauce, what you do differently?
Well, I think, this is one of the oldest professions, right, in history. So I don't think that there's any secrets, honestly. And, I think it's just a matter of being consistent
Yeah.
than, there being secrets. It's just, having the plan and sticking to the plan. And, I think that how I answered this question though to you is, not necessarily that I have any secrets. I think it's about really staying relevant, because what we talked about in the beginning is how the market is constantly changing, even day to day, right? And so going through, whether it be interest rates are really high and going through that and figuring out how to do that to, it's a buyer's market and we can't get people to show our listings to, it's really tough to get listings. And how do you get a buyer in a house? And I think that, I have found it as I get older that I really have to work hard to stay relevant. And that's what I appreciate so much about having young whippersnappers coming into the business and into my office and teaching me new things, because we have to constantly stay open to new ways of doing business. And that's what I love about people who are new to the industry. And they don't have to be young, they could be older and creative as well, but the creativity that they bring in ways for us to do our business, it's always changing.
Always.
I mean, when I got into real estate, and I think Kath would probably say the same thing, like, we didn't have computers. We were still getting the inventory in books. And so think of how much things have evolved and how much things have evolved since January 1st, 2021, really. So I guess that's what I would say is just to lean into, because that's what I notice about agents is they come to me and they're getting stuck on, I'm not going to let my buyers buy a house without an inspection. Well, then your people might not get a house. So how are you going to work through that? And so that's what I would say is my secret sauce is staying relevant.
Being able to be malleable with the market and move with it and evolve with it. Absolutely. I think that's completely critical. Kath, what about you? Without giving away your secret sauce, what do you guys do differently?
I'm happy to give away all the sauce. Because what I have learned is most people won't do it. So that's a challenge to everybody listening. Do it because it works. When you hear tips, when you hear these, people share how they do things, if you do it, you too can find what they have found. It's just that most people aren't willing to do it. So I'm happy to share. When I first got into the business, I called my realtor and I said, hey, I'm getting my license. And she said to me, you're going to do great because you care. It's important to care. It's important that people know you care. It's important that people feel that caring when you encounter them. So being an empathetic person and caring about all the people you encounter is an important piece. In negotiating, because your relationships in the real estate industry are as important as your relationships on your client side, make sure that you are collaborating with the people on the other side. That success is really important. I have a motto: everybody gives a little something, then everybody wins. That's how my negotiations go. And be knowledgeable. Always have something to share. People want you to be a resource to them. I read everything. I read everything that comes across. You can never know it all. So every opportunity you get to listen to, we were talking about David Arbit earlier. Every time you get an opportunity to listen to data, to read up on statistics, to be aware of what's happening in the market, that keeps you front of mind when people are looking for that information. They ask you no matter where you go, right? How's the market? Well, if you have something to say, you will gather a crowd. So be knowledgeable and be nimble. right? Be able to flex with whatever's going on in the market. Like Shannon said, every market creates new challenges, creates a new angle, which is why I think I'm still doing it, because it's so interesting and challenging.
I think that's a really important point too. There's so much education available, and even within different brokerages specifically as well, there's so much to gather. And do not get bogged down in it, because you still got to make money and the classes aren't going to make you money, but allocate your time accordingly so that when they do ask about the market, you say more than it's crazy, because everybody knows it's crazy. It's on every other news story right now. So have a statistic, have something to say, have something more. I think that's a great point, Kath. I appreciate that. So specifically then, in this crazy market, representing buyers, how are you guys doing it? How are you helping your buyers to find a stinking house? Shannon, we'll start with you.
Well, again, I don't know that there's a whole lot of secrets with this, but it's, I go in with the attitude that, buyers are going to have to lose out on a few before they really fully understand the reality of the market. So going in with that mindset. And I don't work with a ton of buyers. I am more heavy on the seller side. But even just, talking to our buyer's agent, having that conversation and just having that mindset. And then, because you have to earn their trust around this market. I think that's a big thing, is if a buyer's going to buy a house and they're going to pay $50,000 over and do an appraisal gap and not do an inspection, you have to earn a lot of trust to get them to that point, right? And so that's why I say, I think just going in with the mindset that they're going to have to lose a couple, and that's okay. And then, and everyone says up front, I'm not going to, give up my inspection. And I say, I would never tell you to give up your inspection. What I can tell you is, and I will say, I always call the listing agent and I find out, where we were at, like, were we number 1, 2, 3? Well, if we were number 1, we'd know that, but were we number 2, 3, or 4? And, ask, what could we have done? What were the points that we could have made, or, if it wasn't price, or obviously probably is, but inspection, that sort of thing. And then I will just, report that back to them every time. And so when they say, I'm not willing to do the inspection, my conversation is, I would never tell you to not do an inspection. Here's what my concern is. You just presented an offer on a house that had 10 offers and 8 of them dropped their inspection. And how do we compete with that? And then also just make suggestions or provide them with resources on how to get through that. Like, you can do pre-inspections now. You can bring an inspector on your showings if that's huge for them. We talk about what might come up on an inspection and what are some kind of price ranges around that. And the other thing you can do is, I think for a lot of cities now, I know you can in Minneapolis and I believe in St. Paul, but is look at like what permits have been pulled on the property. So you'll know, the roof was done 5 years ago, or, it's just doing the research and providing them as much information as possible as they're going into it.
Absolutely. I love the idea of looking up the city permits. They got to pull them. God willing, they pulled them for the work they did. But if they're doing it legally, they had to pull it anyway, and you can see what went on. Also, as you're going through, if there isn't an inspector there, that does, it kind of falls on the buyer's agent then too, to help notice, like, hey, that looks like water in the basement, or hey, this grading seems a little strange, or whatever it might be. I know that that's an additional burden on the agent, but to Shannon's point, like, if they're not going to get an inspection, it's best to have everything on the table, which, John, was a lot of what you had said, if you want to go into how you go through with buyers.
Unmute myself here. Yeah. I think, and Shannon, you kind of hit it on the head, but you got to start out with these buyers. If you're going to even take a buyer on in this market, and have a serious come to Jesus talk up front, because if they're not willing to make a decision in 2 seconds after seeing the house, have their pre-approval fully vetted, willing to probably go 5 to 15% over, and then, it's having that inspection conversation. And, for liability reasons, we all say we'd never advise you not to do an inspection, but, to your point, Shannon, you're right. If there's 15 offers on a property and the top 3 or top 2 don't have an inspection, even if that cash offer is, 3% below a financed offer with an inspection, that the agent's probably going to go with that. And so I think we all just need to get documentation with our clients, noting that we've advised them of an inspection, what can be done, what workarounds are out there, but what's the worst case scenario? Average buyer buying a house, maybe it's a 5 to 15 grand issue that might come up on an inspection. Well, if you're going to go 60, 70,000 over list, maybe you go 50 over and you just keep 20 in the kitty, for something that's going to come up. But we're 72% listings this year, and we've been advising a lot of our sellers to go rent. And we've partnered up with a mid-size rental agency in the cities, because trying to pair up a listing closing and now a buy side, which 4 years ago was easy, you just can't do it anymore. You have to be very, very lucky to get that happen. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of hesitation in the market, is sellers not wanting to come to the market because they don't know where they're going to go. Well, throw them into a rental, 6-month rental, tell them that, we'll find something late summer, early fall. And it's getting a lot of our sellers to move.
That's a great idea. And you had mentioned also getting things in writing as far as the inspection. Do you have a go-to form that you use? Do you just do it via email? How do you?
Yeah, the MAR form for your protection, get a home inspection, always getting that signed. And then we'll advise our client during our buyer's consult the importance of an inspection. And then if they choose to waive the inspection for every property, we'll have them send us an email saying that you've advised the benefits of an inspection. We're going to choose to forego this inspection to make sure we have a better offer.
That's
Because
huge.
there is going to be a ton of lawsuits in the next 2 to 3 years against agents, against sellers, for things that have been discovered in the house that may or may not have been on the seller's disclosure, issues that are out there. And everyone's going to say, yep, my agent advised me not to do an inspection. And so, when the market turns and that house is not worth 10% less, they bought it with a bunch of issues. Make sure that you've done your due diligence to protect yourself and your clients so they know what they're getting into.
Absolutely. Everybody, every new agent, every buyer's agent, jot that down. That's so huge. And to his point as well, right at the beginning, buyer's consult, go through the why they should do an inspection. And then for each one, have the discussion and get something in writing, because absolutely, I think I've already heard of some on the East Coast running into issues already with lawsuits. So that is absolutely on the forefront. Kath, what about you guys? What are you doing to help your buyers find a place?
Well, I think setting expectations up front is important, coaching them that it is a roller coaster, but it's worth it, because affordability is still very good. You can make the same payment on a house today that you made in maybe 2003 or 4 on that same house because of interest rates. So coaching them, making sure your relationships with other agents are solid, and that you're building that rapport when you're negotiating on the other side. How you treat other agents matters. So that's an important piece. And how the seller feels matters. So anything you can do to help the seller feel positively about your client through the negotiation, whether that's communicating different things to the other agent or through the goodwill developed by a good negotiation, that's important. Because everybody's talking about inspection, I'll just share, and most of you will know most of these tips, but if you don't, it's probably worth mentioning. So other options other than waiving inspection: 1, make it a very short time frame. Sometimes that's helpful. Doing a pass-fail inspection. So just saying we want to do an inspection, but it's basically going to be pass-fail. If it passes, we're moving forward. We're not asking for anything. So that having the buyer purchase a warranty for themselves to help with any issues that do come up, and building that in and letting the seller know that's happening. That's one way to protect all parties involved. And then on the other side, I would love to see our industry recognizing that it would be positive for sellers as well, for sellers to be doing pre-inspections right now, because as on the seller side, you get one shot at that initial launch, funneling all the showings, getting your multiple offers and getting that in place. And if you have a pre-inspection in place it will not eliminate, but nearly eliminate the risks involved in someone coming with an inspection, which I believe protects both parties. You get a baseline then, right? So if more of our sellers could do pre-inspections, that protects people on both sides, but I think it's a really positive thing for the seller to not blow that one shot and choose the wrong offer. Or, if something blows up on inspection, the relaunch is never as good as the first launch, right? So I'd love to see a little bit of that happening just overall. The last thing on inspections is items. Sometimes I'll write it and I'll say, but we are only going to ask for the catastrophic stuff. So only items over $1,000. We're not going to nitpick you, but if something comes up that's significant, we're going to be talking. And I've had some success with that as well.
I like that, over 1,000. All right, so kind of transitions right into this one as we're talking about buyers and the craziness of showings and around the clock, and things are going crazy and things are going fast and things are different than they were even 6 months ago. How are you helping? Well, how are you and then working with your team, keeping your head on straight and not going bonkers in this market? John, we'll start with you.
Am I unmuted there? I think
You
I should
sure are.
out here by after 15 months of doing this. How to not go bonkers in this market? Yeah, it's I think you just got to look at what the market is to come here. I mean, this market, as crazy as it is, there's going to come a time where we're going to wish we had this market back, where houses were selling. And, there's going to come a point again where houses are going to sit on the market for 2 or 3 months at a time. And I think that's, staying relevant and figuring out how to stay active in this business is trying to look ahead to see what's going to come 6, 12, 24 months from now, because this market's not going to be here forever. Something is going to happen. Things are going to change. And I guess I'm not even answering your question. What was your question again?
How are you keeping your head on straight, not going bonkers in this, and helping your buyer's agents to do the same?
I think it's just, you just can't get caught up in it. You just got to do what you do. You got to work your systems. And, I think our agents get frustrated, but, they're perseverant. And I think you just got to work through those challenging times and talk to people about it. But as long as you're upfront with your clients, you have people, peers, mentors you can talk to during the challenging times, you'll get through it, and those that can't get through it won't be in this business.
Very true. The hardcore truth. Shannon, what about you? How are you keeping your head on straight and helping your buyer's agent, newly onboarded buyer's agent, keep her head on straight?
I think it's just kind of, having a conversation frequently about how do we navigate through this? What are some tricks that we can, pull out of the hat to try to get people in, and being persistent. That's the other thing too, I think, is being persistent, because we've had it come up where, and John, you had mentioned this, and I think it's so important, or Kath, I can't remember, maybe both of you, but like how you treat the listing agent, how you treat the person on the other end is everything. Because we've had it where we've come in at number 2. And have you noticed, you guys, a lot of number 1 is bailing. And so if you're number 2 and you were respectful and kind and hardworking and following through, they're going to call you. But if you weren't, they're probably going to go to number 3. So I think it's just being persistent and, just talking about it every day. And then also reminding myself and everybody on the team is we have to do a good job taking care of ourselves. I think that is critical, and it's critical in every market, because this is all consuming, this business. And I think that is why so many people get out, they can't do it. And I think that I just have the personality to be flexible and to kind of shift when things shift. And I don't mean like the market shifting, but just like, I thought I was doing this at 10, but I'm doing something totally different. And it's just, encouraging everybody to take care of themselves on a personal level too.
Do you carve out like a consistent time, daily, weekly, monthly, hourly?
Yeah. And I encourage people, like, I'm not rigid, like you have to be in the office, from this time to this time. It's, if work's getting done and you're taking care of yourself, that's what's important. And so for me, yes, I do take care of myself. Like I have to be physical. I'm a physical person. So I have to do that. I have to get good sleep. I'll be honest, I'm in bed by like 9. So I'm not taking calls at night, but I'm up early. So you might be getting texts from me at 6. And, eating well, eating, 3 times a day. Like, I think all of that is extremely important. And I think that, this business can get so wacky. We can get just, out of whack very easily. So I think that is what I would say is, really paying attention to how we're feeling.
It's huge. Did you guys, all you buyers agents watching, did you hear what she said there? That she goes to bed at 9. She's not answering her phone at 10:30 at night, and she has a business that has survived since 1992. Yeah, pay attention.
Well, and I would say that is so important. Like, I mean, we have to train our clients. We do. And I just had this conversation with a client yesterday who texted me Saturday. Do you guys remember how beautiful it was on Saturday? I had nothing on the calendar, and she texted me at 7:15 in the morning asking me if I would come over today. No. But, we have to train our clients and say, here's the deal. I try not to work on the weekends and I try not to work at night. If we're going to negotiate a contract, I'm going to be available. I'm going to do that. Everything else can wait. And we get to say that.
Shannon, did you always do that? Was that a learned habit because of burnout?
I think it was learned because of burnout. I do. And I think honestly, the older I've gotten, I just can't stay up late. I just can't. And I have 3 kids too. And, that's a whole nother full-time job. And so, I'm exhausted. By the time I get into bed, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to look at anybody.
I'm done.
I am so done. But I'll get going at 6 if anybody wants to get going then.
You and Max are the same on that. Emails at like 6 in the morning. Kath, what about you? How do you keep your head on straight? How do you and help your buyer's agent?
Yeah, so I'm not great at this, but I have always maintained that real estate is a lifestyle. And when the market gets like this, that's difficult for me. I do think it helps to set expectations in that initial meeting with clients. I let them know, 1, you can call me anytime, but know that if I am with another client, or if I am at a family event, or if it's the time for bed, I'm probably not going to pick up, and you can leave me a message and I'll get back to you. So that's one thing. 2, I try to and hold open Sunday mornings. That's my time to read the paper and just chill. And Sunday evenings, family dinner, that's family time. I try to keep those slots open as much as possible unless it's an emergency. But there are emergencies, right? So sometimes that has to flex. But those are a couple of things I do. I do want to go back because Carissa asked about this seller's inspection idea. Seller's inspection helps a buyer to write without the inspection because they've had a chance to review that inspection, but it also would give the opportunity to say, but I'd like to walk through with that inspector and have them teach me about my house. So it's kind of a win-win, right? You may be waiving the inspection because you know what the warts are, but you also have the opportunity then, if you ask the seller, and I haven't had anyone object to that, if you can just walk through with that inspector and have them teach you about the house.
All right, I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. I'm pretty sure it's just my screen is all frozen. So what advice would you have for new agents?
Did you guys lose her?
Yeah, we can hear.
Lost you there a little bit.
Okay, I'll jump in here and ask this question quick. So advice that you have for newer agents less than 5 years in the industry? What's the one thing? And John, you spoke to it a little bit earlier, but what's the one thing you wish you would have known when you started? I know that's tough because there's probably a ton of them, but like one thing that if you had known that when you started, you feel like your life and business would have been that much easier.
Oh, this one's easy. And for anyone that's just got licensed, there's probably agents that have been licensed for years or decades that aren't doing this. Get a CRM, put a database together. There was a question here, what's the best CRM? Pick anyone. The one that you use is the best one that's out there. I would tell anybody getting in the business, get together 100, 150 contacts, people you know, people that know you through friends, family, people that know you through family. And it's got to be a full contact, mailing address, email address, phone number, and then put them on an action plan, contact them. Shannon had some great ideas on the 33 touch plan, but pick up the phone, call, connect people. When you're on Facebook, I spend probably a half hour on Facebook per day, just commenting on friends, clients, people I'm interacting with, positive, engaging comments, put stuff out there, never put anything negative out on social media. But the biggest thing is get a database, get a CRM, put people in the CRM with full contact information, make sure every contact is on an action plan. Don't just put them in the CRM without an action plan because you'll never look at them ever again. And then make a firm commitment that you are going to add 3 to 5 people to that CRM week in, week out. Make sure those people are on an action plan, and then budget time in your day to work your dashboard, go through your contacts, make your phone calls. I still make 15 to 30 phone calls per day going through my past clients' sphere, touching people, reach out to them and engage with that database frequently and often, and you will have more business than you can handle.
I think there are 2 important things out of that. The first one that I absolutely loved was when you're engaging on social media, keep it positive. I feel like that should just be like on like every banner across the United States right now. But I think that that's huge because being a positive impact is important across the board. But I would love, John, if you could just take like an extra like minute and talk about the action plan specifically. Like when you say put them in there and have them on an action plan, what does that mean?
It can be as simple as something to reminding you to call and interact with them 4 to 6 times a year. I have some people that I just do a 4 times a year plan and interact with them. I usually stagger my calls. I like to talk to all my clients during the holiday time frame. So, about a week and a half after Thanksgiving, and then about a week before Christmas, I probably have 500-600 calls to make, going through, and it's real quick, but they're great phone calls, and it's fun talking to these people and just seeing what's going on. But those interactions, I think Shannon or Kath, you talked about, just bring up the MLS and just talk about a sale in their neighborhood, talk about something going on in their life, ask them questions. Never make the conversation about yourself when you're reaching out to these people, and kind of coming back to these action plans. It's going to depend on the person. If it's a past client, I have a 10-year action plan. Some of it's going to be automated emails. I found that I don't think anyone reads any emails anymore. So I think your best interaction is going to be text, call, or Facebook, commenting on their post or Facebook Messenger. But stay in front of these people. If you're a nice person and you're a good agent, these people like you. They're just going to forget to recommend you unless you stay top of mind. And so it's your job as an agent to nurture everybody in your database. And if you don't do that, you're going to be like me in my first 7 years of the business. You're going to be very transactional, and you're going to be a little sloppy in your business, and you're going to leave a lot of money on the table.
That's a great point. Great point. Thank you. Shannon, what about for you? What is the one thing that you wish you would have known when you started, and a tidbit of advice for those new agents less than 5 years in?
So, and I just want to piggyback on what John was saying, and Kath also said it, but this quote that I think is so important is that people don't care unless they know you care. I think that's so critical. And it's not just for our clients, but it's agents too. Like, and talking about being positive, who are people drawn to? And what kind of people are going to be drawn to us if we're positive versus negative? And, getting outside of ourselves. So, okay, so here's what I said. how I answered that question. And it took me a while to kind of figure this out because it's almost like we're toggling between positions, but is taking the time to work on our business versus in our business, right? So what are some things that I need to shift around and, taking into account what are my goals and how am I going to get there? I can't get there if I'm just constantly working in my business. And the difference is like, working with clients versus making plans, setting goals, growing our team, nurturing our team, those sort of things. So that's what I would say is really taking time to just sit back and make plans for what you want your business to look like and how you're going to get there and who you need to get on the bus. I think one of the best books I've ever read is Good to Great. I don't know if anyone else has read that, but that's a great book. But that's really a good book in helping to kind of think about our business and how we want to set it up. Because we are running a business. We wear so many hats. And you know what? I'll be honest, I'm not good at a lot of the hats. I'm good at a couple. Like I look good in a couple hats. The rest I do not look good in. And just really understanding that, and then delegating those things. Guys, I can't even believe that I'm going to admit this right now, but I don't even know how to use Authentisign. I'm taking a continuing ed class though on it. So.
I love that. And John had mentioned this in one of the answers he had given as well. And I think that it ties in nicely with this, that to delegate what you can, don't do the $20 an hour job if your hourly rate equates to 250. So making sure that you're doing the big stuff. And to Shannon's point, you're not going to be great at all the hats. It's just the way it is. So on the stuff that you're not as great at, delegate it out. Get someone to help. Absolutely. Kath, what would you say to you when you first started, the one thing you wish you would have known or a piece of advice for those newer agents?
I would say seek out your resources in advance so you know where to go when you get in trouble. Back in our day, Shannon might say the same thing. They gave you a phone and they gave you a desk and they said, good luck. And, at the time I came in and I was actually wrapping up a business I had owned previously. So, I found myself in the office at midnight, near tears because I couldn't figure something out. And I think find a manager, find a mentor that you can turn to and ask for help. And I'm going to do a shameless plug. Part of what I participated in the writing of and teach the New Agent Academy, which is taught through MAR. It's an 8-week course for newer agents, and it will ramp you up and give you those tools and give you a network of people to kind of get started with. So I would highly recommend doing that, taking that course and getting your resources set up so that when you are in trouble, you know where to turn. Because when you are in trouble, it's really hard to even get your bearings on where to turn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Now that we've got about 10 minutes left, Max, are you frozen?
Yeah.
You want to
So
rapid fire through some of the Q&A?
yeah, so there's a couple in here, but I just wanted to give you each 1 minute for probably one of my favorite questions on the stuff we sent you to get your insight. So literally 1 minute, because I have like 3 or 4 questions in the chat that I want to get answered for the people in there. But the next 12 months, where do you see us going? What do you see happening? So John, if you want to start, and we'll go Shannon, we'll go Kath, and just rapid fire through it.
All right, give me a time clock, 60 seconds. I think, this next 12 months, we're going to see more of the same of what we've been going through. But at some point, it's going to pivot. I don't know when the next Black Swan event's going to happen, or at some point, the economy is going to shake it up. But I think as people get inoculated, they're going to want to get back out. They're going to want to participate in society. I think at some point, there's going to be some buyer burnout of what's been happening in the market, and they're just going to pull out and rent for a while. But I think, having, 8.9% median percent appreciation last year, I'm guessing it's going to be 12+% this year. at some point, I think it's unsustainable. So I think all the agents out of here on this webinar need to not only, make money in this current environment, but try to see where it's going to be 12, 24 months out. And I think somewhere in that time frame, maybe just a hair past that, it's going to change. And you think this is a challenging market, wait till it reverses and there's 30 buyers or there's 30 houses for every buyer. When it changes pretty fast.
Cool, thank you. Shannon?
Yeah, I think I responded on paper kind of similarly to what John said. I think that we're gonna see a lot the same. I mean, every year we see spring crazy. I still don't for the life of me understand why buyers wait to buy a house in the spring. It just seems bonkers to me. Why wouldn't you buy like in the late fall? Because I mean, even just looking back, like how much that has changed since, November, December, and now where we're at. Even just what I was saying since January 1st, how much prices have gone up. So I think it is going to be the same. I think we'll see better opportunities here late summer, going into the fall. And then I think eventually it is going to change. I mean, you look at every 10 years, it cycles through, and we're going to see that cycle, and we're going to be begging for buyers. I remember that in like 2009, 10, and 11. And I never thought I'd say that.
All right, Kath, 60 seconds.
I'm going to concur. I think it's going to be more of the same. We are, we just talked in my team meeting a couple weeks ago, how it felt like there were more listings coming on. There was more to show. And now the data is starting to show that. The last 3 weeks, we've seen an increase, but it's being swept off as fast as it's coming on. So that tells me that we might be seeing the beginning of some change, along with John's thoughts about some buyer fatigue. We may see things slow down, but I wouldn't anticipate that. We have so much pent up demand. I wouldn't anticipate that for 12 to 24 months max, maybe even 3 years before we see that shift. And it'll be a combination of more inventory and interest rates beginning to creep up, which again, the Fed says that's not going to shift for a little while either. So more of the same. So where I used to say make hay while the sun shines, now it's make hay, but also make sure you get those breaks in there, because the market isn't giving us one currently, but you need to work that in somewhere as well.
Cool. All right, we got about 5 minutes. I got 2.5 questions, we'll call it. Opinions on escalation clause. Michael McGee wants to know what your guys' thoughts are on them.
Write your best offer. The worst is we have 5 escalation clauses and they're all escalating each other. The worst is you get an escalation clause where it's 40 under the highest offer, but it's willing to go up to that. And we like the ones where the buyer puts their best foot forward.
And that's coming from 72% listings for your
You guys
team.
think, Kath and Shannon?
I think I missed the question. Could you repeat it?
What are your opinions on the escalation clause?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really challenging to do. I think if there's 1 or 2, but you have 10 offers, it's way too complicated. And we've started to ask people when we're up there not to do escalation clauses.
Yeah, same. I concur.
Okay, cool. All right, this one's a pretty good one. When you're a buyer's agent, you lose a bidding war. What do you do with the seller's agent who's unwilling to give you feedback on your losing offer, and how do you get them to come around if you're able to? Which is super relevant right now, because if you got buyers asking you why you lost, or maybe you're a newer agent, you've written 5, 6 offers and you don't know why. How do you, even as a seller's agent, how do you like to be approached to get some feedback for that?
I'll start off on this one if you guys want. It depends on what side of the fence you're on, listing agent or buyer's agent. You have to think some of these listing agents, if it's a Sunday night, they're doing highest and best and they have 33 offers and they're just trying to process the offers and get in front of their sellers. It's hard to necessarily have that one-on-one with every buyer's agent and tell them why their offer lost out. I mean, there's just only so much time and energy and money-making activities to be done in a day. But that being said, somebody said something earlier. I would guess, what do you say? Maybe a third of these highest and best offers that buyer busts out, even maybe before inspection, if there was an inspection contingency, be nice to that listing agent. Let them know that, whatever we can do, and just, it's amazing how many offers we get on multiple offers where the buyer's agent either they sign it off to us. They don't even read the listing to say that, send it to the co-list or whatever, but they just send it off. They don't call, they don't reach out. And it's like, you're in a multiple offer situation. You didn't at least text the agent and say, hey, I sent you an offer. But be nice to that listing agent. You'd be surprised on how many of these things bust out even before that buyer that went on inspection. They don't deliver docs, and you have to go down the road to offer 2 or offer 3. And that's a good way to get your offer accepted. If you are a 2 or a 3, is let that listing agent know you're going to be fun, friendly, easy to work with, and you're a great backup.
Awesome. Shannon, Kath, any insight on that?
We bundle our offer, and we think of the offer not just as the price, but the terms of the offer. Who is the buyer and their qualifications? Who is the lender, and how does the lender respond? Did the lender call the listing agent and let them know what the status of that buyer is and that they're a solid buyer? And then who is the agent and what's the relationship? So there's 4 pillars to that formula. So when we bundle it and send it over, we've got a letter from the buyer in many cases, we've got our offer, we've got our approval letter, and then we have a cover letter that we send, but we also copy that into an email so that it's very easy. So sending an AuthentiSign, some people, if their device doesn't open it, now they can't see it, it gets frustrating for them. That reflects on how they feel about you. Make it as easy as possible for that listing agent. So we write that right into the copy of the email. So even if they're out with friends and on their phone, they can open it and see what's in that offer and know what they've got in their hand right there. Make it easy. That's the ticket.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, and I think what I would say is, I think the question was about, how do you get that information? Is I would just present it like, hey, can you help me out? I'm really working hard to get these buyers in a home. They would love any helpful information you could provide. It's just present it like you're looking for help. And I always encourage people to reach out to me if they have questions. People usually don't, which surprises me. But again, that's kind of the 80-20 rule, right? And kind of like what you were saying, John, people are just throwing things at you. They're just seeing what sticks. Be purposeful.
Cool. All right. Well, 9:59, guys. I would encourage anybody who's on here that had questions and maybe didn't get them answered or didn't ask, I would encourage you to reach out to any one of these panelists. Email, phone, text. Don't email any of them because they won't look at it, but text them. They'll all look at it. And we appreciate you guys. John, Shannon, Kath, it really means a lot. You guys were on here. So thanks a lot.
Great information. Thank you guys so much for taking.
Thanks for having us. Everyone have a great day.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll see you guys.